After 5 weeks in Europe, my partner and I only had 12 days where we didn't need to go a million places. And I would say most of those days weren't even proper rest because I had to journal all of Europe, which I have this thing where I've been journaling for 8 years for every single date. So that took forever. And then we also needed to spend this time planning for our US road trip. We planned to go to the Animal Liberation Conference and then go to the AAM Colorado Convergence and a lot of places. So it was just very overwhelming to come back from 5 weeks in Europe and then be like, okay, we're going to do like a huge road trip, especially since I hate cars. This video, though, is about the Animal Liberation Conference, which was such an amazing experience. I've wanted to go to ALC for many years, and I almost went in 2021, but my ride was busy moving a sanctuary, the one I lived on, actually, at the time, so I couldn't go to ALC 2021. Here's just a little overview video I made of ALC 2023.
Human freedom, animal rights.
You melt the ice behind my stone cold eyes. I turn to ashes.
We will not give up this fight.
But you still act surprised. It's not my fault. You call me crazy now, but you don't understand. I'm calling out to you.
On June 7th, my partner and I took to the roads to drive the 13 hours from Seattle to the San Francisco Bay Area. This was our third time doing this drive, which I just honestly hate. It's a very beautiful drive, but I just was really missing Europe and trains. I just want to be able to train long distances, not have to be driving a car, which is dangerous and also demands like all of your attention. We split the drive up in two because that's just way better for my mental health. So we stayed at a motel for the night, a cheap one. And in the morning, we crossed the state border into California, and the views were very beautiful. And eventually we made it to Berkeley. And of course we got food from the Butcher Son, which if you've been to Bay Area, you know that's one of the best vegan restaurants. Through the language Esperanto and Passporto Servo, which I talked about in my Europe videos, we luckily got a response from an Esperantist in Oakland, California, so we had a place to stay for 3 nights. This map basically just shows how hard it is to find Esperanto housing in America versus Europe. The next morning was day 1 of the Animal Liberation Conference, so we got ready and headed over to the conference area that ALC was taking place at. One of the first things we did was split up into groups of like where we came from, and it was really awkward because the only Seattle activists were my boyfriend and I when he went to ALC 2019 and said that 25 Seattle activists went. So it just shows like how much Seattle has declined for some reason. We ended up just grouping up with the only other Washington activist who came, and then some random like Oregon activists, which I'm not sure how Oregon had so many activists, but Oregon had a lot of activists. It was really cool to see where everybody was coming from, though. There was people who came from all over the US, there was people who came from Europe, people who came from South Korea. There were multiple like workshops / presentations you could attend, and I went to Melanie Joy's even though I disagree with her on a lot of things. Hers was interesting. Then we had lunch, which was from Nature Vegetarian, and this food was so good, oh my god. Then I went to Cassie's presentation on communications, which I learned a lot from. Then back in the main conference room, we wrapped up day 1. Then I grouped up with some fellow vegan anti-natalists and got to do my first Stop Having Kids, which turned into the first Stop Having Kids march because there were so many of us that we needed to move to a different spot to do outreach.
Go vegan! Pro-Christian has got to go. 8 billion deaths. Go vegan. Not babies. Not babies. Don't give birth. Stop having kids. Stop having kids.
The full video is up on my Instagram, and if you care to learn more about antinatalism, you can go to stophavingkids.org, or you can read this. You just have to pause it. This is my caption for my the reel I just showed. Then we walked back to our car and stayed at our Esperanto house for the night. The next day we drove and walked over back to the conference center.
Who can deny that it is not a privilege of every citizen of the United States to vote, right? In the same way we're saying, who can deny that it's not the privilege of every human being, but every animal too, to be protected from the most grotesque criminal abuse? Who can deny that? So let's go to the court. If we really believe that, let's fight for it in court and let's stake our own freedom on it. That's what Susan B. Anthony did.
Next was the Animal Liberation March, which I was super excited about because after all this time, I still hadn't done an animal rights march yet. So we all took the BART, which is like the train of the Bay Area, over to San Francisco. I was excited to take a train, and it did remind me of Europe, but the BART is honestly overall too much money, and it doesn't compare at all to cities like Stockholm, Berlin, Paris. Just no. I wish the American government didn't like put all of its effing money into cars and instead invested in public transit. We arrived in San Francisco and walked over to the park where everyone was getting ready for the march.
Making enough milk and eggs or babies for them to exploit and make money off of. I can never imagine being born to be bred just so someone can turn my skin or turn into a jacket or a coat.
Then the Animal Liberation March began.
Animals do not want to die. Just like us. Just like us.
Would have had an awful life that would have been eaten alive or probably died in this container.
We marched for hours through the streets of San Francisco, and it was a really amazing experience.
Slaughter is alive. Animals do not want to die. Human slaughter is alive. Animals do not want to die.
Afterwards, everyone split off to go to different vegan restaurants, and I went to Golden Era and got orange chicken and sticky white rice, and it was really good. Then we took the BART back to Berkeley. That's a lot of B's. And I literally got assaulted in a train station trying to get back. You can pause to read, but what the fuck? The next day, Miyoko of Miyoko's Creamery could not make it to ALC, but she left us a message.
How people think about the world, about animals, so that we can create a world of people that are truly compassionate and caring.
Some people from Animal Rising also couldn't make it to ALC last minute, which really sucks. For lunch, we had Mexican food, and I spent all 3 of my sessions that you could pick out on Wayne's open rescue experience, like presentation/workshop, and it was really amazing. We had sandwiches for dinner, and here's just some random stuff we got from Whole Foods. Housing for the last days of ALC ended up not working out, but luckily our Esperanto house let us stay 1 extra night. Our honest plan to save money for one of the next nights was to sleep in our car. The next morning we had a job interview on Zoom, and then we packed our things and left our Esperanto house. The Esperanto house had been really nice. The only problem was how cold the house would get. I'm not sure why so many people's homes are so cold. Then we drove and walked over to where everyone was meeting in this park, which we thought was the big action, but it ended up being canvassing, getting signatures from a bunch of people who live in Berkeley to try to get a factory farm ban on the ballot for Berkeley. We were in groups of 2 to 3, so naturally I was with my boyfriend, and we had door knocking, which meant that we got mostly rejections. But overall, when everyone came back, I think the amount was like 1,400 signatures is what we collected. We had burritos, and then we had a period where we were supposed to go find a place to nap, which was a problem because we had no housing at this point. So we just found somewhere and tried to sleep in our car. I didn't get an insane amount of sleep, but I think my partner got more sleep. But why were we doing this? Because at night we were supposed to meet for the big action. I think I got some semi-solid sleep, and when we woke up, the sun was setting, and lo and behold, one of our headlights is not working, which is like the worst timing ever because we're gonna go at night to action. Basically, it was fairly likely that police would pull us over if we went to the action, which is also why this is such an insane coincidence because the action probably involved something illegal. We were in the group of people not doing the illegal part, but still we would be associated with it. We argued about what to do, and then we just drove to the new Animal Rights Center in Berkeley, and we just hung out there before the action. So I think I was like sleep deprived or something because I for some reason thought our meeting spot was gonna be like where the action would be near the meeting spot. But no, I knew that no, we're probably gonna have to drive like an hour or two to like a slaughterhouse or something. Like I don't know exactly what's happening, they haven't told us, but something like that is probably gonna happen. We kind of just left our car where it was and walked over to the meeting spot, and I was thinking if we need a ride we can just go with someone else because they were gonna match people who didn't have a ride with people who had space. But for some reason, my boyfriend, I just had a complete miscommunication before we got there. So I don't know what was even going on, and we were probably just tired. I don't know at this point. And I felt dumb too because I wasn't as prepped as everyone else. I had my purse and my water bottle, but I felt like I should have brought an extra jacket, a backpack. I don't know why my brain just thought that the action would be near the meeting spot. But no, it was not. It was not. It took an hour for everyone to show up and get prepped, and then I got matched with someone who had room in their car, and my boyfriend was just gonna sleep in the car for the night because he was worried about it, I think, and because he didn't bring some stuff because he thought for some reason we were driving the car there. I don't know. But finally we did an action, which was putting a shut down Golden Gate Fields banner over the freeway.
It's pretty shallow and it's not gonna last long, but we have truth and love and justice on our side.
Just like us!
Horses feel love!
Just like us!
Horses feel joy!
Just like us!
Golden Gate Fields is the local horse racing track where an average of 30 horses are killed per year. This action was amazing, but I didn't really think of how it could lead into the big action. And I was correct because the big action was at a slaughterhouse. My partner changed his mind and he wanted to go, so the person who drove me just picked him up and we went about an hour, just under an hour, to the Petaluma Poultry Slaughterhouse. About 200 of us gathered on the sidewalks outside of the slaughterhouse as activists went inside and liberated 18 chickens. Here is some of the activists doing the open rescue, which just means that they are openly liberating these chickens from this slaughterhouse. They put videos of them rescuing the chickens and their faces on the internet. The logic behind this is to try to win the right to rescue, which is the first right out of 5 in Rose's Law, which is DXC's proposed Animal Bill of Rights. And say what you will about open rescue, but the last 2 trials that DXC activists have gone through have been won. I got to attend the second one in Merced, California. Twice in a row, juries decided that we should have the right to rescue animals on farms from cruelty. And I think it makes sense to focus on the right to rescue first because it is the first right for animals that I think we are most likely to win. The goal is that we will be able to defend animals in court, that not just dogs and cats being rescued from hot cars is legal, but that rescuing farm animals from cruelty will be legal too. But that would obviously make a gigantic dent in animal agriculture, so of course animal agriculture is scared that these trials have been won and they are trying to legally stop activists and our movement with everything they have.
Occupy this grass if they want to, and if you don't, just stay on the sidewalk. Just explain some risks.
Many police came, but no arrests were made.
When they look around, let them see hills and trees, and the sun up above, and the clouds that dot the sky. Let them feel true love, not have to wonder why a being can be so cruel. Let them never have to cry, never be used as a tool. Let them swim and let them fly, never grow up in a cage with food and water short supply. Let them live to old age, buried with dignity when they die. Choose to engage in play and hold their head up high. This is the future they deny, but when they try to silence us, those attempts we will defy.
We hung out outside the slaughterhouse showing our support for the right to rescue and the open rescue that happens there until sunup. Like, we were there after like sometime after 2 a.m. And then I finally left. I think it was around like 6:40, but other people stuck around until they went to protest outside the district attorney's office at 8 a.m., which I was like about to pass out. I could not go to that.
A corporation based in Sonoma County that has so much financial power, they've been able to control local law enforcement.
Being outside the slaughterhouse that long was definitely exhausting, but this is also, like, I would say the most important and cool action that I've gotten to be a part of. And it was the first ALC all-nighter action.
I've been doing it too, but yeah, let's try to keep it open. I think there's like new workers coming in right now. Look at this, all these cars, so let's be sure we don't. Thank you so much.
Pigeon uprising? We luckily got a ride back, and I was falling asleep in the car. Like everyone was at this point. And I got like nauseous, I don't know why, and then just I immediately needed to go to like this random bathroom to take my contacts out and just like fall asleep in the car because our hotel, of course, check-in wasn't until 3 p.m. Woo. My nausea still wasn't going away. I think I have like stomach problems. So I just like got some food, and once we checked into the hotel, I slowly ate it, and then I was like feeling better. Pigeons continue to take over. Vegan for the animals. After not having access to a bed for that long and going that long without proper sleep, I had the best sleep like of my life. The next morning, we checked out of our hotel and went to the conference center for the last day of ALC. They gave us jerky for breakfast as well as other things. And we got to hear about the Petaluma 18, which are the chickens who were liberated.
Freedom, animal rights.
Same struggle, same fight.
Human freedom, animal rights.
Then we marched down to the Berkeley Trader Joe's because that Trader Joe's sells the chicken bodies from the slaughterhouse that the open rescue happened at.
Just like us.
What do we want? When do we want it?
Now.
This car kept honking as if we would just start running because they're honking. I don't know.
They want to live.
Just like us. Not want to die.
Don't spy the human life. But so many of their family members and friends are not. We are here for them. We are here and we will continue fighting for them.
Outside of the Trader Joe's, we painted this amazing mural of Rose's Law Animal Bill of Rights.
Are confined in. And I must say to anybody who's considering making such a purchase, I know no one here is, but to anyone over there.
You but a different body. There's life inside my body. Let me be free. Freedom from your tyranny.
Yes.
Are we going to get it?
Yes.
What do we want?
Animal liberation.
When do we want it?
Now.
Are we going to fight for it?
Yes.
Are we going to get it?
Yes.
Then those who wanted to tried to enter the Trader Joe's, but they locked both the front, and then when we tried the back doors, they locked the back doors too.
Excuse me, Trader Joe's. I understand why you locked the doors, but I hope that you can still hear us. And I hope that your customers can hear us, and I hope that your managers can hear us. Because
Because we couldn't get in, we just did what we were trying to do inside the Trader Joe's outside of it, which was throw these red streamers up in the air, which symbolizes blood, and then do a die-in to symbolize the dead chickens in front of the dead chicken aisle.
Human freedom, animal rights. Same struggle, same fight. Human freedom, animal rights. Es violencia.
We went back to the conference area and got more food from Nature Vegetarian, and then we kind of just wrapped things up.
Led to a waiting transport ban.
These systems of violence and pushing to change them. Over these last few days, we've really put compassion into action. We hurt, and we didn't wait for politicians to do something about it. We didn't wait for the authorities to take action. We didn't wait for the CEO of these slaughterhouses and of Petco to suddenly have a change of heart and do the right thing. We said, fuck that, and we went in and we took them out. We literally carried our friends out in our arms.
We did some closing activities, talked to some people, and then that was it. That was ALC 2023. So then we hit the road and drove to Sacramento, California, which is like an hour away, because we had some Esperanto housing there. And there we would like chill and figure out what we were going to do next with our road trip. Unlike the Chicago and Washington, D.C. AAM convergences my partner and I went to, for the Colorado convergence, we somehow did not get housing. AAM always provides housing for these convergences, so either we signed up too late or there was just too many people going, but we did not have a spot in the house. And then literally besides Oakland and Sacramento, we had no luck with Esperantists either replying or saying that we could stay with them. So the trip would basically be sleeping in our car to save money and like driving extremely long distances, and it just didn't really seem worth it after all that. So during the next couple days, we were just going to try to decide what we would do. In Sacramento, we went to the vegan restaurant Burger Patch and got these well-priced, really good burgers and a milkshake. And then we met our Esperantist host, and they were really nice, and we were sleeping on an air mattress in the living room, but this was still my favorite Esperanto house because they were so nice. Here's one of the cats that was at the house. So the next morning, we just like hung around Sacramento. I liked how it was like a smaller city because there was like always parking. We got some food, and then we went over to the California State Capitol. It was really hot. But it was cool to see the California State Capitol. This day we also got the broken headlight fixed. I got some Beyond Burgers for $1.25 at Dollar Tree, and then we hung out with the Esperanto family. They all knew Esperanto, and one of their daughters is vegan, and our host was nice enough to make us this vegan dinner that we shared with everybody. The next day, our host showed us this really cool 100-year-old Esperanto English dictionary, and then we went to downtown Sacramento, and we went to this really, really cool art museum. It was called the Crocker, I believe, Art Museum, and I just really love museums, and I love art. But this one was definitely at the top of my list somewhere. Then we went to this restaurant called Vegan Deadly Sins, and I got a chicken chow mein dish, and it was really, really good. And so was the boba iced like milk something, I forget, drink I got. It was really, really good. It was hot as hell. We had dinner with the family, and it was nice. And then okay, so for context, the past 2 days, I thought I had really bad allergies, but this morning when I woke up at like, I don't know, 4 a.m. or something, I definitely felt like I was becoming sick. We had decided to not go forward with the rest of the road trip, but we were gonna at least do LA, which I've like wanted to go to for so long. It's like my second top like US city I just am dying to go see. But I woke up feeling sick, and also we were gonna like sleep in our car, so it just wasn't aligning. It just wasn't the time. My 4th time, by the way, going to San Francisco. 4th time. and I couldn't go to LA. It was painful, but that's just what happened. Because I was becoming pretty sick pretty fast, it was obviously the best move to drive all the way home in one day, which from Sacramento was an 11-hour drive. This drive was the worst drive ever, I swear to God. I drove most of the drive and I had a fever during this time, and I had body aches and chills. I just felt like absolute shit. So, it was just a really horrible day. But eventually, I think around 11 p.m., we got back to home. So, not finishing the road trip was disappointing, but at least I finally got rest after Europe, which I didn't get enough of before leaving.
Human freedom, animal rights.